Hey everybody, welcome to Piano Lessons with Elvin, episode 26. These next few videos, I'm going to show you all of the different types of seventh chords. We'll start with the most common seventh chord, known as the dominant seventh chord. That's sort of the most serious name. There's a hidden name called the minor seventh chord, major minor seventh chord. I'll explain that as well. However, most of the times when you encounter this chord, it will be seen with no qualifier of the word dominant. It'll just say something like C7, G7, A7, B flat 7, E flat 7, and that will all be the same chord. For other types of seventh chords, they'll need to have a qualifier. C minor 7, C major 7, C half diminished 7. So if you ever just see an alphabet letter, a note name, and a 7, it will be this kind of chord, which is a dominant 7 chord. So I'll show you some examples and explain the theory behind it. Awesome. Let me just grab the phone. Cool. Okay, so I'll start with, let's just do this E. Now here's a E7, and I'll explain the theory of it. I assume that you know what major chords are. If you don't, I have a video on it. So for any dominant 7 chord, we always will start whatever note we're on and make a major triad. And then we'll go to the 7 notes above the root being the note on the bottom. Now in this case, I'm doing something quote unquote wrong, and I'm just going to count 7 notes from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's a 7. I add it all together. Major chord plus the 7. Yay! Dominant 7. However, that is not quite the correct way to get it, because I'm just counting to the white keys, which won't always give you the truth. The best way to do it is to understand what E major is. And, what is the E major scale? And then we can think about it in more of a pure sense of, let's just think in this concept like half steps and a whole steps and stuff. So you'll always have a major chord, and the 7th is what is known as a minor 7. Minor 7 being from the minor scale, E minor. However, there's 2 ways to go about it. Either we think E major chord, E major scale, and since we're in a major scale, every interval will, be major. So E to D sharp is a major 7th, and you'll always shrink this down a half step. Major 7, minor 7. Boom. One other way you could think about it is whatever the 7th note is, it'll be a whole step away from the octave. So E to E is the octave. The 7th will be 1 note down, a whole step down. So E to D is that whole step away. 1 note down to a D sharp wouldn't work because that's only a half step away. So that's a pretty foolproof method, is you either think, what's the major scale? E, count up 7 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you bring it down a half step to make it minor, because this right now is a major 7. There we go. We need that minor 7. Or think the octave and a whole step below the octave. Half step, E to D, whole step. And then we combine it, major chord and the 7th. We'll do one on C. Here's C. What's the scale of C major? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's that major 7. Shrink it down a half step to B flat. Dominant 7. Or the other method, C octave. And then you go a whole step lower. C, half. B flat to C is a whole step. Cool. And then you get that same thing. Major triad, minor 7, which is that other hidden name. This is dominant 7, but also known as a major minor 7. Major to identify the triad quality, and then minor to identify the interval type. So that's a very specific definition of a dominant 7 chord, a major minor chord, and that really gives you exactly the answer. You need a major triad and a minor 7. A minor 7 being a whole step less than an octave, or to get really into the weeds with theory, we take it from the minor scale. If I'm in C, a C minor scale has a B flat. Cool. So I can take it from there. And that's the way to view it within scales, or you could view it in a different manner in terms of theory, a whole step lower than an octave, or a major scale. There's the major 7 from C major, and then shrink it down. Minor's always less than major. Cool, let's do one on A. There's the A major chord. Let's think of the A major scale. There's a 7 note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's the major 7, which I'll do a video on this. This is a major 7, which is pretty. But we're doing dominant 7s. Now bring that down a half step. And now you get that A7. And we can think again, this is a whole step away from the octave. Half, whole step. And then the final thing here where we could also derive this from A minor, and A minor, G's are natural, so there would be the 7 here. So we could kind of see those are like 3 methods, either a pure theory or chordal approach of it's a whole step less than an octave, major chord, whole step less than an octave. We could view it in context of a major scale and then shrink it down a half step. Or we could view it in the context of a minor scale to get that minor 7 we need. And once again, when you see this in most music, especially outside of the classical world, this will just be called an A7. And then within, there's even, saying a dominant 7 is kind of what we would call figured bass, more classical kind of thing, because it explains a function of the chord, which this would always lead to like a, be like it's a chord function like this chord. If I rearranged it to this, would be the G7, G dominant 7. I mean, I don't need to explain all of this, but a dominant would be the 5th scale degree of any major scale. So in C major, 5 is the dominant. And then I make a dominant 7 out of this. There's a major chord, there's a 7, there's the G octave, whole step lower would be to F, or I can think G major. There's the major, G to F sharp, shrink it a half step, or I could think G minor. And then there's that same 7. Boom, then you combine it to that G7 or G dominant 7 or G major minor 7. Major chord, minor interval. Sweet, I hope that helps. I'm just going to play through some at random here. I guess I'll just go down chromatically. G7, F sharp 7, F7, E7, E flat 7, D7, D flat 7, C7, B7, B flat 7, A7, A flat 7, then back to that G7. Cool, I hope you guys like that video. I really like to explain things in a few different ways so you can just get the idea that all roads lead to Rome. There's a lot of ways to get to the same idea. For the next video, I will show you the major chord, just known more easily as just a major 7 chord, which I kind of accidentally did in this video. So probably the next video will be a bit shorter. But yeah, guys, cheers. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe. That means a lot to me. Okay, see you.